President Bola Tinubu joins colleagues in Nairobi to participate in the Africa Forward Summit, co-hosted by President William Ruto of Kenya and French President Emmanuel Macron. Rivers' political divide deepens as prominent Fubara loyalists fail to scale through APC State Assembly screening. Committee describes exercise as peaceful. Hello and welcome to Politics Today, reaching you live from Lagos, our global headquarters at Channels TV, and of course Nigeria's commercial nerve center. The momentum of politics is building up. By the way, I'm Jeffrey Uzama, and it hasn't hit a crescendo yet, but we're seeing things that suggest that we are in for three varies in that sense, interesting political season as we get towards the primaries, where screenings are happening right now. Some names are already out in some part of the screening, and then we'll get to the primaries eventually May the 3rd. I'd like to put that date out so that for people who don't follow politics will get to know that by May the 3rd, we're supposed to know exactly who represents what party nominated what candidate, except otherwise a court process that changes that afterwards. But before we get to the nitty-gritty, because I'm going to be talking a lot today about governance and politics with the leader of a sub-national bank. Let's tell you how President Bola Tinubu is in Nairobi from Paris, France, after he was received at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport by a delegation of senior Nigerian government officials. That happened earlier today. As part of his official itinerary, the president is attending the Africa Forward Summit, which is taking place at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, KICC. He's participating in high-level sessions alongside more than 30 other African heads of state and government. The summit, which is being co-chaired by French President Emmanuel Macron and Kenyan President William Ruto, is highlighting Nigeria's ongoing effort to strengthen strategic partnerships and underscore Nigeria's commitment to fostering deeper ties with both African countries and the French Republic. Well, let's come back home. The president has been out, so he's from Kenya, he's visiting another country before he returns back to Nigeria. As a matter of fact, you know already that the APC has given him a waiver, given the fact that he's gone through this screening process and he's been given the right of first refusal, endorsed by the APC, literally everybody in the APC, because there was an APC summit that endorsed that. So he has nothing to worry about when it comes to his position in the 2027 presidential election. But let's tell you what is playing out in Rivers State. The political battle there may have taken a fresh turn following the screening of aspirants for the All Progressives Congress House of Assembly primaries, with several loyalists of Governor Sani Fubara failing to make the party's final list. In a development already stirring political intrigue across the state, former Obiakpo Council Chairman Mr. Chijioke Nhunwo and 7 lawmakers, Sokari Goodboy and Victor Okojombo, all widely regarded as strong allies of Governor Fubara, were among those not cleared by the party screening committee for various reasons. Out of the 98 aspirants, the screening committee report shows that 33 were cleared while 65 were not cleared. Political observers are interpreting their failure to scale through as more than just a routine, internal party exercise. They say it is the latest signal of deepening political fault lines in Rivers State, where Governor Fubara and his predecessor, Minister Nyesom Wike, remain locked in a prolonged struggle for political supremacy. The exercise was, however, quite peaceful. All right, but if my producer can get me something that the executive director of Yaga Africa had put out in more like his opinion piece about what is going on as far as the primaries and the consensus issue is concerned, because as we speak, a lot of the political parties are trying to avoid as much as possible from going into the logistics of, that's the excuse, of primaries. But this was something he sort of said as some kind of a caution when it comes to our democracy or what is playing out in most of the political parties. He said, what is happening in the lead up to the primaries is a choreographed elimination of competition. Powerful individuals, governors, cabals, and backroom brokers decide who the candidates will be before any primary is conducted. Then, they deploy financial incentives, intimidation, threats of political exile, and institutional manipulation to clear the field. If we go to the next one, which is perhaps a very strong statement he made, he said, those who dare to resist are branded as disloyal, divisive, some would say divisive, or worse, a tool of the opposition. This front-loaded consensus candidacy is undemocratic and amounts to the imposition of candidates. Well, that's something he told the executive director of YAGA Africa, sounding a note of warning to the concern around internal democracy and what it could be and how it could affect the chances of people to be democratically elected. Because if it's cabals that are deciding who represents a party and not the entirety of stakeholders, the people that are elected will naturally be loyal to this cabal. But we have a big conversation today on the program. But we'll bring you our political roundup stories first. Stay with us.
The All Progressives Congress APC State House of Assembly Screening Committee in Rivers State has screened a total of 98 aspirants seeking to contest the party's primaries for the State House of Assembly seats across 32 constituencies in the state. Speaking after the screening exercise at the party secretariat in Port Harcourt, the secretary of the committee, Honorable Tanko Iyamoa, who represented the chairman, Moriana Ajibola, described the exercise as peaceful and successful, expressing satisfaction with the orderly conduct of the aspirants. Justice Peter Lifu of the Federal High Court Abuja has adjourned proceedings in a suit challenging the eligibility of former President Goodluck Jonathan to contest the 2027 presidential election, following the absence of the plaintiff and his counsel in court. Justice Lifu fixed May 15, 2026 for the next hearing and warned that punitive costs may be awarded against the plaintiff if there is another appearance failure. During the day's proceedings, counsel to the defendant, Chris Uche SAN, drew the court's attention to the plaintiff's absence, noting that the matter had earlier been adjourned at the plaintiff's instance. Uche also urged the court to impose punitive costs on the plaintiff for failing to attend proceedings without explanation. However, the court opted to give the plaintiff another opportunity and adjourned the matter to May 15, 2026, directing that all parties be duly served before the next hearing. The Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has announced 150 as the minimum cutoff mark for admission into Nigerian universities for the 2026 academic session. The decision was reached in Abuja at the 2026 policy meeting on admissions, organized by the board with the Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, and stakeholders from various tertiary institutions in attendance. The Minister of Education also announced that candidates seeking admission into the Nigeria Certificate in Education NCE program in colleges of education will no longer require Joint Admission and Matriculation Board examination, but will only need a minimum requirement of 4 O-level credits in school certificates. The Taraba State Working Committee of the ruling All Progressives Congress has distanced the party from the alleged arrest of the national president of the Miyetti Allah Kotohore Social-Cultural Association, Bello Bodejo, by the Department of State Services. The party's public relations officer, Aaron Artemas, says Bodejo's alleged arrest by the DSS has nothing to do with his opposition to the consensus arrangement initiated by the APC leadership in Taraba State under Governor Agbu Kaifas. He also announced his intention to contest the Taraba Central senatorial seat on the platform of the APC, insisting that he would not step down for any aspirant and was fully prepared for the race.
Welcome back. My guest is joining me from Abuja studios. Is the governor of Kaduna State, Senator Governor Sani. Distinguished Senator, Your Excellency, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Jeffrey.
Yes, I know the last time we had a conversation, I think it's over a year. Both of us have had conversation on this platform, maybe over a year and a half ago. So it's good to see you yet again. But we have to stay the distance. Thank God for technology. Your Excellency, I know that by this time, but let me first of all, before I get to my question, you've been screened. I want to presume that, sir. Have you been
Definitely.
screened?
I was screened on Friday.
All right. Yes, I wanted to be clear about all of, because now you know.
Yeah, I was screened on Friday. Yeah.
I wanted to clear all of that because of this is the season of screening and everybody knowing where they are as far as the next election. So the build-up is on and all of that. I hope we can get that sorted so you can hear me as quickly as possible. But Your Excellency, where I was going to with my initial thought was that by this time, this is already May 2026. By this time, 3 years ago, you were actually preparing to be sworn in as the next governor of Kaduna State. And I am quite sure, without any doubt, that you had your mind made up on a couple of things you wanted to achieve. You had your plans to say, by this time, 3 years from now, when I'm doing my third anniversary or celebrating my third year anniversary as a governor, I would have achieved this, that, and the other. When you look back 3 years down the line and look at the boxes, have you ticked as much boxes as you would have wanted to tick in your leadership of Kaduna State?
Thank you very much, Geoffrey. I think, in my own opinion and some of the position of many people in Kaduna State, we even surpassed our expectations. When we came in, we look at the area of agriculture in particular, which for me is key. When we came in, we inherited a budget of agriculture of about 0.5%, which represent about 1.4 billion. Today, by the grace of God, the budget of agriculture in Kaduna State is 13%, which represent about 103 billion. And of course, in agriculture, we've done a lot, because if you look at agriculture, is what contributes to about 43% of our GDP and about 60% of our workforce. So it's not surprising that today in Nigeria, we are leading in some of the major crops. And you can attest to the fact that we have invested so much in agriculture, because we surpassed the Malabo declaration of about 10% for subnational and national governments. We're at 13%. And we are the only state in Nigeria that have distributed about 900 trucks of fertilizer to smallholder farmers in Kaduna State, numbering about over 150,000 smallholder farmers. That is the reason why today, if you look at the statistics and data, we are number one in maize production in Nigeria. We are number one in tomato production in Nigeria. We are number one in ginger production in Nigeria. And we are the first state in Nigeria to launch our special agro-industrial processing zone, which for me is a game changer. It's after Kaduna that about 3 other states I did the groundbreaking for the construction of special agro-processing zone in Nigeria. And looking at our AQUAC, that's African Quality Assurance Center, which we partner with the Afro-Exim Bank. We are the second state in the whole of Nigeria to do that. And I'm talking about not agriculture, but all the agricultural value chain. So because of that, we are leading, even we're number 2 in soybean. I'm talking about statistics and data. And that's the reason why today in Kaduna, we have reduced the level of poverty, create jobs. And that is the reason why you can see the level of insecurity in Kaduna State has really gone down. And of course, that's why everyone is calling it as a script, as the Kaduna model. So quickly, let me go back to transportation. When we came in, apart from agriculture, we look at the issue of transportation, because we're looking at the issue of creating jobs, addressing the issue of poverty, and supporting our teeming youths. We happen to be the only state outside Lagos that are now constructing BRT corridor. That's bus rapid transit. Outside Lagos, we're the only state in the whole of Nigeria, which we are partnering with the French Development Agency. We've gone far. And of course, only last week, because of what we've done and the roadmap we have taken and trajectory in our investment in transportation, when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have seen that we're the first state to launch 100 CNG buses. I remember last year, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came to Kaduna, did the commissioning, and today, as we're speaking, those buses are free of charge. We're not charging 1 naira to anyone. Looking at the fact that because of these reforms, the removal of fuel subsidy, and many other reforms, we believe we have to come up with some of the intervention to support our teaming youth, and even the workers, the retirees, and the downtrodden. So to date, in the last 9 months, our people, particularly downtrodden, the vulnerable, have used our free CNG buses, numbering about 1.6 million people free, saving about 1.9 billion. That is, for me, the way to go. And not only that, only last week, because we were down, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu also fulfilled his promise by ensuring that Kaduna State outside Lagos will also be one of the states that will have light rail. Recall, only last week, the Federal Executive Council also approved 1 trillion naira for Kaduna State light rail project, which is about 50-kilometer corridor. It's all on the issue of transport. And we are the second state in Nigeria to have transport policy. If you checked, you will find out. So we are not really taking anything for granted when it comes to transport sector. Then talking about infrastructure. When we came in, the first thing we did, we looked at the deficits in terms of infrastructural development in our state. What we found out was that about 12 local governments did not experience 1 single kilometer of road completed in 11 years before we came in. And what we did was sitting down with my team to say that, look, we need to take this development to most of the rural local governments that were abandoned for many years. If you go to Zone 1, I'm talking about local governments like Makalpi, local government like Soba, local government like Ikara. All those local governments were abandoned. If you go to Southern Kaduna, they had about 6 local governments out of 8 that were abandoned for like 11 years. You're talking about Kaura local government, Zangon Katab local government. You're talking about Sanga local government. You also come down to Kauru local government. All those local governments I mentioned were also completely abandoned. So coming to Central Zone, you see Giwa local government, Bindungwara local government were among the local governments that were completely abandoned. So what we did, we look at the statistics, we look at the deficit today. As I'm speaking with you, we are constructing 150 roads, totaling about 1,335 kilometers. To date, 60 roads have been completed and commissioned. So we are making progress in infrastructure. And the most important thing is that we focus mostly on rural local government because we are trying to connect our markets with our farm. Like I said, agriculture is the main of our economy. But the most important thing is that there must be roads to connect our markets and our farms so that we can be able to boost economic prosperity of the people that are farmers and small businesses who are mostly living in rural local governments. Talking about education. In education, when we came in, if you look at the statistics from the UNICEF and many other statistics, even from the National Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria, you will agree with me. When we came in, we inherited about 550,000 out-of-school children. But today, by the grace of God, through our partnership with our development partners, we have been able to take 300,000 young children and our people back to classroom. So, but we are not stopping at that. Because of what we've done, we have been able to attract funding recently from our partners, that is the Kuwait Fund, Save the Children International, Education for All, as well as Islamic Development Bank, totaling about $62.8 million to be able to address the remaining deficit of 188,000 out-of-school children. And today we've done the groundbreaking for the construction of additional 104 schools, are renovating about 170 schools from this partnership with these development agencies I've just mentioned. And I must say it here, that Kaduna State is the first state in Nigeria to benefit from this funding from Kuwait Fund. And
yes,
the first
if I may comment,
first in Nigeria.
yes,
I'm happy to say
that
we're making
if you can hear me, sir.
And
my apologies, Your Excellency, if you can hear me. I took note of some of the things from agriculture to transportation to education, because one of the concerns that was raised in the last administration is, from what we heard, is the uneven distribution of projects, infrastructure across the state. So are you saying here on record that you've done enough to give people, say, within Southern Kaduna, a great sense of belonging, that if you go out there the next time you're going to campaign to seek for their votes and maybe for the president, they will listen to you because you feel that you've done enough for them so far? Is that what you're saying?
Let me give you a simple example. Yes, the answer is capital yes, because when we came in, if you realize, even after my election, virtually all the members of the House of Reps, the Senator, the State Assembly, were in the opposition. But when we came in, the first thing I did was telling everyone in Kaduna that politics was over. What was more concerned about our governance is about looking at every part of Kaduna State, whether they voted for us or not, to ensure that development is even and taking everything to every part of the state. Infrastructure is one of the area. If you go to Southern, particularly Zangwan Katap in particular, we just commissioned 24 kilometers from Madakia, that is from Zangwan Katap to Jama'a. Zangwan Katap local government, where Christopher Musa comes from, the chief of the Minister of Defense. If you ask him, he will tell you they have not experienced one completed kilometer of road in 12 years. But today, we have connected Zangwan Katap with Jama'a local government, 24 kilometer Ashpatu Road Commission. If you go to Sanga local government, they have not also experienced 1 kilometer in Southern Kaduna. We are constructing now, which is about 90% completion from Sanga local government, where the deputy governor comes from, to Jama'a local government, which is also 22.5 kilometers. A local government like Jaba, they have never seen anything asphalt, probably in 20 years. But today, all the township roads in Jaba local government, ask anyone from Jaba, are going on. We have just completed about 12 kilometers of the township roads within Jaba local government. These are local government that have not experienced even, they have not seen asphalt road in 2 decades. We've done that. If you come down
Your Excellency,
to
yes,
local
again,
governments,
I
also that have not seen,
so
go
that
to
I can ask
Kauru
you as
local
many
government.
questions.
We have constructed about 22 kilometers of asphalt road
So I
with
can ask you
bridges
as many questions
connecting
as
Kauru
possible, if you can hear me,
to
sir.
Kobo local government.
Oh dear.
So this is what we've been doing.
So from the numbers and the data you shared so far, it looks like the previous administration, permit my word, did a terrible job at managing infrastructural development in terms of its distribution. But you were a big supporter of that administration. It's on record you supported that administration, but I'm not going to put their trouble on your head. But it looks like they didn't do well, so you had to do a lot of work from what you've given so far. But let's move on to something else that has to do with the debt burden of your state. As at the time you came into office, over $500 million in debts was there. And I think that should be the foreign debt. And then the local debt was about somewhere in the region of, together, the region of maybe 800 billion naira from the data we have from budget. You can correct me if I'm wrong. How much of that have you been able to manage because of the fiscal liabilities that we see due to the exchange rate with exchange rate harmonization we've seen, and then the fiscal liabilities that can come from the FX liabilities, I should say, that should come from such adjustment in terms of the J-curve effect when it even comes to borrowing, the cost of interest, whenever you borrow it. So where is the debt management of Kaduna State as we speak? Because the debt burden is very high. As much as glowing, as the things you said are quite impressive, the debt burden as at that time is very, where is it right now?
Okay, thank you very much. If you go to the debt management office, that's why sometimes when I'm speaking, I speak with data and statistics, because you see, in the world we are today, it doesn't take anything to cross-check. So if you go to the debt management office by tomorrow, you'll agree with me that in the last 3 years, we've been able to pay over 90 billion naira of the debt we inherited. And I can tell you, since we came in as a government, we have not taken any new loan as a government because we believe we do not have fiscal space to borrow any money. But as a government, when you come in, you have to inherit both asset and liability. So what we did is that we look at the fact that we must pay a lot of money. We tried at the beginning. I went around when I met the World Bank, and I could recall even the current Minister of Health, Professor Patti, who worked with the World Bank many decades ago, came in to support me to see how we can be able to restructure the loan. Unfortunately, the World Bank rejected the restructuring of the loan because they believe all the money was drawn completely before we came in. And the first month we came in June 2023, we started paying the loan. That was the first month the loan was, we started paying. So at the point I met the World Bank executives with the help of Professor Patti, who happens to work with them many years ago, they were clear to us that they cannot restructure the loan. So what did I do? I can't go to media and keep making noise and keep talking. I have to face the job. Today, by the grace of God, we have paid about 90 billion from that debt. For me, is very important. But at the same time, because we've been able to address the issue of insecurity in Kaduna to some extent, because you see, when people are looking at the insecurity situation, Kaduna is a very cosmopolitan state. We are not talking about only banditry. When we came in, we inherited a system where there were a lot of ethno-religious crises in Kaduna. So what we've done in terms of taking development to every part of Kaduna State brought some relative peace, because there can never be peace without justice. For me, that is the way to go, because I spent most of my life as a civil rights activist who fought for freedom, for justice, for equality. So it was very easy for me to do that. So I'm happy to say that the level of peace we were able to establish in Kaduna State, we were able to generate also about $3.5 billion investment to our state in many sectors. That's what really helped us. And I can recall, only about 6 months ago, Ms. Cynthia Roy of the SVDO came to Kaduna and announced that even the UK government have moved Kaduna State from red to amber. That was a welcome development that has opened doors for investors to come back to Kaduna who have really left because of the issue of insecurity before you arrived. And again, recall also in 2022, when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came to Kaduna for campaign, we traveled with him to Benangwari from Kaduna. It takes the late General Labaja, who was a GOC, to give us about 20 armored vehicles, fully armed with military, to escort President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to Benangwari for the campaign. Today, by the grace of God, you can go to Benangwari at this hour. This hour as we are speaking, from Kaduna to Benangwari without a police escort. And we've been able to reclaim about 500,000
let me come in yet again.
Of farmlands that were abandoned because of insecurity. Now our farmers have gone. Schools that were closed have been reopened. Hospitals that were closed because of insecurity have been reopened. The Benangwari that was abandoned for 3 decades now are enjoying infrastructure from us. So there are many things we're doing to be able to address this issue.
Let me come in again, Governor Sani.
Things we
yes, I think when it comes to security, I think a lot of people will give you kudos, because when we look back at the previous administration, the southern Kaduna was literally a killing field, arguably. But that has stepped up. There's still insecurity, but not as terrible as it was. And that's going to make me segue into my next question that has to do with the region. But just back on the debt issue, because debt is a huge problem even for Nigeria. Nigeria right now is in the region of maybe $100 billion. That is, we do the conversion of 159 or so trillion naira. Your state, between 2023 to now, is still around 1 trillion naira, and it's a huge burden on the state. But in answering that, you say you've tried to restructure it, it's not working. So is there a better plan to make sure that this is brought down as much as possible? 90 billion as against over maybe about 1 trillion, because the external debt is in the region of 600 and something million dollars. If you even do today's conversion, it's still huge. And then the local debt, domestic debt is about 80 something billion dollars. So if you put it together, that's a huge amount on a state like Kaduna. What else is left to be done in your books that can help taper this as much as possible? Then we'll get to that security question.
Okay. Yeah, so let me give you 1 or 2 examples. Now, that's the reason why sometimes when I came to the national television and talk about the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because when the situation happened, I went to Mr. President. I made it clear to him. I was not talking to him as a governor. I was talking to him as a colleague that we are together in the struggle for the improvement of democracy. Recall, I was in the struggle for democracy in Nigeria alongside the likes of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So I went in, I made it clear to him. This is why we find ourselves in Kaduna. And I must tell you, he intervened. He supported us. But despite that, if you look at the level of debt as you're talking about, if you go to debt management, let me give an example of the $250 million, an order loan. From what the analysis that came out of debt management office, this loan, as you're talking about, at the rate of paying $6.7 billion, don't forget, every month, Kaduna State government pay $6.7 billion to service our debt. And I don't think there's any state other than Lagos that is paying such kind of money. In the whole of northern Nigeria, no state is paying even 2.5 billion naira monthly as a debt servicing, but Kaduna State is paying 6.7 billion. It's okay. We cannot abandon governance because of that. That's why we are doing what we are doing. The only thing is that we have to look at the financial situation of the state, and we have to be very prudent. And honestly speaking, I have to thank all the people I'm working with them, because most of them have realized that we need to look at ourselves in the mirror and address this issue collectively. When I came in, it took us 2.5 years for anybody working with me, whether you're a commissioner, whether you're a deputy governor, whether you're even the secretary of the state government, nobody had an official vehicle for 2.5 years, because I made it clear to all of them. And when I came in, I looked at their salaries and allowance, because some of them were working before I became governor. So I sat them, including deputy governor, that look, we are looking at these salaries, particularly some aspect of it that is called performance bonus. And I'll tell them, performance bonus is not in the books. Can we remove that? And
all right, Excellency, because
so
of time, I'll need to cut in because of time and take a break. My apologies.
I must thank everyone. So we'll be able to work together, and that's really help us.
Yes, I'll need to cut in and take a break and come back after the break. But if you look at the burden of debt your state has, the effort is noted, but is not moving as much of the needle. I gave you the number of about ₦1 trillion as against what's being paid. So it's a big gap. But when we come back, we're going to talk about security as well as politics. Governor, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Feeling brand new. Sunshine on the rhythm, I'm calling on you. No dry skin allowed in the party tonight. Just smooth vibrations, I'm feeling alright. Viva, glow baby glow. Viva, let the moisture flow from your head to your toes, see the magic show. Viva lotion, the rhythm of your skin.
The maiden edition of the International Civil Service Conference demonstrated the value of collaboration between government and the private sector. ICSC 2026, themed Reforms, Resilience, and Results, returns as a premier platform for organizations seeking to engage with government, showcase innovation, and contribute to national development. Partners and sponsors will benefit from premium brand visibility, strategic networking opportunities, and direct engagement with decision makers, while gaining access to over 5,000 physical attendees from across the public sector and development community. ICSC 2026 will hold May 20th to 21st, 2026 at Eagle Square, Abuja. Organizations interested in partnership and sponsorship opportunities are invited to register their interest at icsc.ohcsf.gov.ng. ICSC 2026, where partnerships power reform and innovation drives results.
If it is valuable, you protect it. Your money, your home, your reputation. In the same way, your personal information is valuable. When not protected, it can be misused, leading to fraud, identity theft, and lasting harm. If you experience a data privacy breach or misuse of your personal information, report immediately to the Nigeria Data Protection Commission, NDPC, via info@ndpc.gov.ng. Every organization that collects and processes data are known as data controllers and data processors and required to comply with the provisions of the Nigeria Data Protection Act 2023, which include registration and renewal with the NDPC. Kindly note that the NDP Act compliance audit for year 2025 is ongoing. Ensure compliance to avoid sanctions, fines, and operational disruptions. Visit services.ndpc.gov.ng. This announcement is from the NDPC, Nigeria Data Protection Commission, championing privacy rights.
My baba, they always say, for market, every day gets your own wahala. Sometimes people go on scam you. But Baba say, no be by gra, you must cool down, dey sharp. Because with OPay payment, your money go enter sharp, no story. But inside market, anything fit happen. One day, we no see phone again. My baba remember OPay USSD lock, dash star 955 star 131 hash. Baba press am, lock account. From market woman to driver, from small boy to big man. Now OPay, they protect people like us. My baba fit sell, press phone, collect POS, and still they teach me price. And when they don't tire am, go just tap OPay night guard. We no fear for this our hustle life. Now OPay be the people payment shield.
Luther malaria is gone. No more cold and pain.
What is wrong with my husband?
Ma, he was very sick in the office. This is a lab result.
Thank you, Luther. With Luther, malaria is in big trouble. Luther contains artemether and lumefantrine, and it is used to treat malaria.
Luther is another quality product from Hovid and marketed by Pharmatex Nigeria Limited.
Today's leaders are not facing one crisis. They are facing many at once. Geopolitical shocks, inflation, regulation, and rising stakeholders' pressure are testing leadership everywhere.
When crises collide, average leadership hesitates. Exceptional leadership brings clarity, confidence, and decisive action.
Join TechSem at Doubletree by Hilton, Newcastle, UK, on the 14th to 18th of June 2026. Learn from Sir Richard Gosney, Lord Johnny Oates, Professor Roger Delves, and John Peters. How great leaders think and act under pressure. Lead calmly, decide wisely, protect growth in turbulent times.
Fee is £4,750.
For more information, contact the number on your screen.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has resumed the third and final phase of the nationwide continuous voter registration CVR. The exercise, which commenced on Monday, 11th of May, 2026, will close on Friday, 10th of July, 2026, and is open to persons who have never registered before or turned 18 years after the last registration exercise. Intending voters can visit the INEC voter registration portal at www.cvr.inecnigeria.org to pre-register online and proceed to complete the process at any INEC office to capture their fingerprints and photograph. Citizens can also register physically at any INEC state or LGA office. If your PVC is lost or damaged, do not register afresh. Simply visit the online registration portal or any INEC office and apply for a replacement. You can also T-transfer or update your personal information during this period. Make your voice heard. Get registered. This message is from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, making your vote count, consolidating our democracy.
Welcome back. My guest is the governor of Kaduna State, Senator Sani. Joins us from our Abuja studios. Governor, thank you so much for staying with us on the program. Let's jump from governance issue. Let's talk a bit of politics, and I have time. I'll come back to the issue of governance. But let's talk about what nobody has really wanted to talk about. But you are I think, the vice chairman of the Governors Forum, not the governor, Progressive Governors Forum. And the other day we heard that Governor Hope Uzodinma was actually removed as the chairman of the Governors Forum. That news filtered in that Governor Mba was taking over. Then later we saw an endorsement. It looks like there's a big crack in the Progressive Governors Forum, a party that is quite united in Nigeria, the ruling party. What exactly is going on with this issue about division in the Progressive Governors Forum?
So thank you very much. Just like you said, it's a topic that no one wants to talk about. But in my own opinion, I don't think it's a serious issue like many people who try to make it look like it's a very serious issue. Because, you know, in everything when you're talking about democracy, people can choose to disagree then agree. So in my own opinion, it was just a slight a misunderstanding, which of course, as you said, as the vice chairman of Progressive Governors Forum, I can tell you authoritatively that things are okay. There's not any problem. Now we are united as usual. You know, for some of us that believe in democracy, we believe you cannot just say that you cannot disagree once in a while. But I don't think if there's anything that's serious, at the moment, there's no problem. All the governors are together. His Excellency Hope Uzodinma is the chairman of Progressive Governors Forum. My humble self, Senator Sani, is the vice chairman of Progressive Governors Forum. And I don't think you will hear anything again. I can assure you, nothing will ever, you can't hear anything again. So for me, in my own opinion, that is democracy. We can choose to agree and disagree.
Governor Sani,
it's normal. There's nothing. People approach me and say, "Oh, this is
that the governors had with the leader of the Progressive Governors, the ones who were not happy. What was the disagreement about?"
No, it's not. No. It's like I say. You know, for someone like me, maybe because of my background, someone who came from civil rights movement. You know, we believe in democracy. It's normal to disagree. But like I said, my point is clear. You will never hear anything. It's just a slight disagreement, not on a serious issue, but it's a slight disagreement. But it has been resolved. I don't think from that day you've had anything. And of course, if there's any change of leadership, sitting here as the vice chairman, I could have taken over. But I can tell you, you see, I was there. And I was the one who made that statement, clear that we are united, everything is okay. Even in our government, we can agree and disagree. Even in our party, it's usual. Even in business, in politics, everywhere. So for some people who are not Democrats, they feel this is so serious. But for me, who have always been part of this pro-democracy movement, you know, it's normal. So there's not any problem.
Well, you make it look light, and I want to assume that it's light. But even as light as it is, Governor, you are not telling us how light the problem was. But I'm not going to dwell on that because of time. I want to move on to other issues, and that has to do with...
Geoffrey, Mr. Geoffrey, just take my words that there's nothing serious. Take my words. You know me. If there's problem, I'll say it because of my background and antecedent. I'll say it. So there's nothing serious here.
One other issue that we're dealing with has to do with internal democracy within your own political party. I don't know what's playing out. We've not heard anything as far as your own governorship ambition is concerned. We've not heard that anybody has speaks from. But since you are a member of the Progressive Governors Forum, one of the challenges that the APC seem to be facing now is a challenge of consensus candidates, which some people are interpreting to be imposition of candidate by some governors and some leaders at the sub-national level, because we understand that the governors had met with the president has given them some level of leeway to see how they can manage the party to have some level of consensus. But it looks like that management is falling apart in some parts of the country. As a political party, are you worried that what befell the PDP, that the crack that led to the eventual destruction of the PDP may be lurking in your party, given this very litmus test about consensus candidacy in your party?
Honestly speaking, I'm not losing sleep about this situation at all because let me give an example of my own state. Of course, I call on the aspirants and we agree that where we can have consensus, let's have consensus. But where people do not agree with the consensus, the electoral is clear. You can have consensus until all the aspirants sit together and agree. But outside that, I feel it's not right. So in Kaduna, I made it clear to everyone. Even if you are, as a governor, you can have a preference for someone if you so wish. But at the same, because I'm a human being, you can say, okay, I like this more than this. It's a personal opinion. But at the end of the day, it is the people, the party members that ultimately decides who will become the candidate. So for me in Kaduna, this is a benchmark. We made it clear to everyone. Go and contest election, but some that I am close to, I called them, I said, look, in my own opinion, you can withdraw for so person because of 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons. Some of them agreed, but some said, no, we want to go and buy the form. And I made it clear to all of them that, look, this primary, because of the Electoral Act, some of them have to educate them about the Electoral Act. Governors probably may not have all the powers in this world to decide anything because it is going to be decided by the members of our own party. Remember, we did registration of the membership, which of course INEC have closed it. So the register is with INEC for all the political parties that intend to contest election and do primaries. So at the end of the day, it is the membership of the party that will decide through a direct primaries. So it's not a matter of a governor putting delegates, as it used to be in the past, members to decide. You remember there was a time when this when Electoral Act was out, a lot of opposition members were like, how can we register members before the closing date? But for me, they got it wrong because if you want to entrench these democratic ideals, you want to allow people to come out and contest and have their way without any interference, you must allow the party members registered to decide who to be the candidate. So in my own opinion, that is democracy in action.
All
so
right,
we should
Governor,
allow the process
let's talk about the
Kaduna,
states. Yes.
Of course, like I said, anybody, even in your own home, if people are contesting for something, you can say, okay, this is the one I prepare.
Within the time we have,
at the end of the
Governor,
day, they don't agree.
My apologies.
Them to go.
Within the time we have,
probably that's the one that people want.
Yes. Let's talk about the state of the nation. It's no doubt the president himself is aware that his decision, his economic policy, his decision has brought very difficult hardship, untold hardship on a lot of Nigerians. All he asks is for patience most of the time. Cost of living is very high in Nigeria. In fact, right now, everybody's really under the impact of the increase in fuel price, and that is primarily what is playing out in Iran. And the government hasn't done anything in terms of even production subsidy, and we're buying fuel for 1.3, maybe 1.4. You can imagine where we're coming from, less than 200. Yes, subsidy was removed. It got to about 700. Another almost 30% being added to that number again. With the level of hardship Nigerians are feeling right now, and some of the promises met and unmet by the president, do you think the president and your party is confident that he will be voted for in the next election?
Geoffrey, let me be very blunt to you and very clear. And you can also put it down. I remember this day, remember this time, and of course 11 May, Monday, 2026. If you ask me, because you're talking to a veteran in the opposition, and of course when I look at what's happening generally, I agree with you talking about some of the federal government or President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's reforms. But you're talking to a man who spent 4 years as a chairman, Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Financial Institutions. That's what I want to talk. I want to talk on data. People don't understand. You don't come to national television and speak, just say whatever. You must have statistics and data. Let me take you back, because allow me to digress on this issue very well, for the benefit of the people.
Yeah, because of time.
When President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came, don't forget, as a chairman committee on banking, I can tell you over 30 trillion was printed. to address the ways and means in our country. That was what caused the level of inflation to go up. I hope you understand that. Number two, there were a lot of multiple exchange rates. So because of that, a lot of foreign investors that need to come to Nigeria, invest and repatriate their investment, run away from our country because they don't know what they will make tomorrow when it comes to the issue of forex. So when the president comes in, when you are looking at these reforms, you don't talk on them in isolation. It's just like you coming to meet a situation completely in disarray. What do you need to do? Do you say, let me plaster the house when you see a house that is cracking, about to go down, and you call an engineer, and a quantity surveyor, a structural engineer, and he tells you, this house cannot be at least repaired by just doing a bit of little amendment. If you do that, give it 6-7 months, it will crash. What do you need to do? You need to reconstruct it completely. And when you're constructing it, what will come to your mind is not about the present day alone. You have to look at the future of the country and even the future of yet unbanned. People that were not even banned. So now we are talking about 20 trillion being printed. Inflation went very up. That's number one. When you're talking about subsidy, a lot of people are talking about subsidy. So I will tell you, again, how many can you tell me before the coming of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Nobody knows the number of how many millions of petrol, the liters of petroleum that were being subsidized.
Governor Sani, because of time, I will need to vote in Governor Sani. My apologies. I know you wanted me to. If you can hear me, sir. I know you wanted me to. Let me finish. Yes.
Let me finish.
We just have 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes.
That's why I said. Okay,
we have 2 more minutes. I wanted to throw in one more question.
One 2 more minutes to address, and that is the reason why when I look at the opposition talking about it is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu versus the Nigerians. Who are the Nigerians? Talking about Kaduna and many states in northern Nigeria, I can tell you they are going to vote for Aswaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I can tell you that with type of contradiction.
You're a member of the APC and you're the governor, so I can understand. But what we are saying, so there are two things. Governor, if you allow me for a moment.
Schools that were closed now have been open.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
Governor, if you can hear me, I understand macroeconomics pretty well, fairly well. So I understand the numbers. But the man on the street, the man around your state, his reality is totally different. He used to buy egg for 50 naira. Now he has to buy it for 250, maybe in Lagos. That is his own macroeconomic analysis of the performance of the president, whether it's fair or not fair. That's why I'm asking you, given that fact, plus the fact that insecurity has not really, we're still struggling with insecurity, whether they will vote for President Bola Tinubu, say in the northern part of Nigeria. If you can answer that in 1 minute, sir. My apologies.
They will vote for him because 2 reasons. You see, most of those people opposing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, have they really come to a station and tell you this is our alternative position in education, in healthcare, in agriculture, no, because these were the people that we were together with them just yesterday. Now they came up from nowhere. Some of them have become latter-day activists. Some of them have become pro-democracy activists overnight. The people in the village are talking about, they know the identity, they know the antecedent, they know all the people we are talking about. So for me, whether there's any opposition, that's a question you would ask. The answer is no, because we haven't seen anything they have come up with that they can do better than what the president is doing in the current circumstances. That is what the common man on the street and in the villages are asking, and there's no answer.
Okay, Governor, I must thank you so much. The coming days after May the 30th, we'll now have time to know who is representing what party, sub-national, national level, and then we'll begin to brainstorm on these ideas. Nigerians will make the final decision. Governor Sani, the governor of Kaduna State, thank you as always for coming through whenever I call. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Jeffrey. Thank you very much.
And that's it on the program. Thank you for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Elections 101 in 5 2.0. where we unpack the laws, the regulations, and guidelines that govern elections in Nigeria. I am Samson Itodo. Election 101 in 5 is an initiative of YAGA Africa with support from the European Union under the EU Support to Democratic Governance in Nigeria program. Today, our focus is on the types of primaries allowed by law. Now, let's get right into it. What types of party primaries are allowed by law? We took this question to the street, and here are the interesting things some Nigerians had to say to us.
C. Direct and consensus primaries. For the direct primaries, you give the citizens the opportunity to go and choose the person that they feel it has the capacity to lead. While the consensus primaries, I feel if there are more than 2, 3, 5 contestants, they can decide to come together and give chance for the other person that they feel can lead the party very well.
My answer is B.
Primary, direct primary. From, I think, the last changes they did in the law, I think that was what was actually given. I felt that's it, probably with the law and what covers the party and whatever changes it comes with.
Good observations. Here is what the law and INEX regulations establish. Section 84 sub 2 of the Electoral Act 2026 permits only 2 types of primaries: direct primaries and consensus. In direct primaries, all party members in a constituency vote to determine the party candidate. All party members, as long as they are on the party register. A party organizing direct primaries is required to submit a copy of its membership register for the relevant constituency to INEC not later than 21 days before the primaries.